Hello and welcome to When Passion Meets Purpose. I'm Leslie Bishop Joe and I'm your host for When Passion Meets Purpose. Listen, we believe here that everything is possible. We believe that with the Lord Jesus, everything is possible. That's what the word tells us. And we believe that it's been designed such that your passion, that thing that God has put in you, is going to intersect with your God-given purpose. Look out for it now. Watch for it because that's the way that God has designed it. Well, listen, I'm giving you an opportunity now to tag somebody, share to your own pages because we are in for a treat. We have with us today Chef Lorious. Yes, Lori Rogers is here. And I'm telling you, this woman has a story she's going to share with us. And we want to hear everything about it. So I tell you, go ahead and share with somebody now. We don't want them to miss any of it. All right. She has the desire to share with us the love that God has put in her. But do you know how she does it? She does it through cooking. I just find that amazing. She sees her cooking even as ministry. She specializes in classic and contemporary comfort food. Yum. And this is stuff that's good for us. Not only the bad stuff, but comfort food that's good for us. She was born in California. She comes from a very close-knit family who's anchored in Southern tradition from Alabama. So she's known as a Calibama girl. And she learned early that food that's cooked with love, listen, guys, it has the power to inspire and to heal. Can you put that there? Food cooked with love has the ability, the power to inspire and heal. Now, listen, Lori is a pastor, a grand pastor's daughter. How can I say that? The granddaughter of a pastor. She was raised with God being the center of their lives. So I think that's wonderful. And she has a journey. Her journey from the corporate world to the internet, being this internet sensation that she is, it's a spirit-led journey. And that's what she's going to share with us about. She's going to share with us how the Lord spoke to her and led her step by step into this journey. We see her now. We see her on the internet. We see her on her YouTube channel, and I'm going to share more about that. She will as well. She's a Calibama Cooking with Chef Lorious on YouTube, and you can follow her there. We're going to talk all about that, but she's grateful for the opportunity to take her message. She takes her message of loving others through cooking, and she does it through what she calls her love lab. That's her kitchen. So let's hear a little bit more from Chef Lorious. She's with us today, and I'm so glad that she's here. Hey, I tried to do my best in talking about.
Oh, girl, I wanted to meet me.
Say again.
I wanted to meet me.
Well, I hope others want to meet you because look, we're in for a great time. I'm
Yes.
telling you, it's so good to have you with us, Lori. I know that your schedule is just tight. So, people seeing you on the networks, on TV, and then you have your YouTube station. You just have a channel. You have just all kinds of stuff going on. So welcome, my friend. Welcome, my sister. And people are tagging. You all tag others now.
Yay.
Share this to your Facebook pages so they'll know that we're here. We know that there are people who will join this later. They like to catch it on the replay. We know that, Lori. But I want to give you a chance to be able to say a little bit to the people in terms of a greeting before we get going.
Well, first of all, I am so honored to be here. Thank you, Leslie, for this opportunity. I am beyond excited because you know what? We have a story to share. And the
Yeah.
reason things happen to us and we go through things in life is to share with somebody else. And one of the things I always want to do is help the next person. And so I've been excited since you asked me. I can't wait. I couldn't wait. I'm here and I'm so ready to just to love on everybody with my story and hope it
Yeah.
encourages them.
Yes. And I know that it will. As I thank you all for tagging, thank you all for sharing. But I'm going to share with you guys that it was several years ago, and Lori and I were at a women's conference, and we both spoke and shared that morning. We knew each other before then. We had been in contact with one another, I think, before that, or acquainted with one another, I should say.
Mhm.
And then that day, we really had an opportunity to talk, right? And
Yeah.
so we were at that women's conference, and you began to share about your journey. And you weren't on the networks now. You weren't on TV and all
Mm-mm.
that stuff yet, right?
No,
But it was just great. And I said, you know what, Lori, when we get together on the platform, I want you to share with with people a little bit about the backstory, because I told you before that, in the most recent book I did, we talk about Paul Harvey sharing about the rest of the story.
yes.
So people need to know a little bit about the rest of the story
Yeah,
for Lori, right? Because
yeah.
it's not always glamour and glitz and all that, right? So
Trust me.
yeah, don't you just share with us what you're comfortable with sharing with regard to, earlier days and
Yeah.
how it was for you.
Well, the thing is, I never saw or imagined being Chef Lorious. That's the thing. That was never in my vision. I'm a CPA by trade. That's what I studied. That's what my licensing is in. I have my own business. So, I mean, I thought I was just, CPA. That's what I did. My family's into that. We have lots of CPAs in the family, so that makes sense. But I've always had this love of cooking. I love it. I love to cook and I love to share love with people. And so I've always catered my own parties. Thanksgiving was always an event, a
Wow.
Super Bowl event. But I just did it for fun and people would ask for recipes and whatever, okay, sure, whatever. And so one time my husband said to me, why don't you put it on a YouTube channel and that way you don't have to like give out a recipe one after one. And if people want it, they can get it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll see. Maybe, I don't know. And it sounded like a good idea. I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
YouTube is free. You just go on and create an account and start recording. I mean, so why not? And I talked to a couple girlfriends of mine, and I was like, "What do you guys think?" They're like, "Oh my God, yeah, your food is always good." I was like, "What do I call myself?" Well, at church, and I'm a church girl. My granddaddy was my pastor growing up. They everything centers around church. So my friends had started calling me Lorious. And uh, and it was just for fun. And I had even had my license plate changed to say Lorious because I just thought it was cute. So my girlfriend said, "Why don't you call yourself Chef Lorious?" And I was like, "Oh, that could be funny and silly." Well, I was like, okay, why not? Sure, let's try it. So I did, and it took. Now, at the same time, for the years before that, God had been always speaking to me. You know how you have that desire for more, right? You want more. I was
Yeah.
always in church. I play. So at the time, I was music director at the church I was going to. And so I was, I've always been involved in music, which is my hands, and I'm a CPA, which is my license. And God had always been saying to me, use what's in your hands, use what's in your hands. Almost like Moses, use what's in your hand. And
It's
so
in
I
your
was like,
hands.
okay, what's in my hand? What's in my hand? And so I'm thinking what's in my hand is my CPA license. So I would make these attempts to grow my business because
Mm-hmm.
my business is sustainable for me. It's perfect for a one person show. I have good clients. I'm very blessed. But I'd be like, okay, maybe I should grow. Okay. So then I would try to update my website and I just could not get it to go anywhere. And I was like, God, you're telling me use what's in my hands, what's in my hands. And that's all I would hear. Use what's in your hand, use what's in your hand. And so then I started doing this cooking thing and I'm playing for I'm doing all this stuff. And one day as Chef Lori's had begun, and I was having a lot of fun and starting to get exposure. And the channel was growing and the Facebook was growing. God spoke to me and said, "That's what's in your hands."
Mm.
And I didn't even realize that it was the thing in my hands, which
Yeah.
was cooking. And I
Yeah.
didn't know that because, we think of cooking as just something we do for our families or something we do for fun. We don't
Yeah.
even think of it as ministry or as something we could use. It's just something we do,
Yeah.
but I loved it. And so as I started to embrace that and understand he was saying that's what's in your hand, he wasn't discounting the other things, but what he was really breathing on was this thing in my hands. And
Mm.
so as I went into it and got more involved, I was like, okay, let me just start really seeing what happens here. I discovered it was more ministry than it was just cooking.
Mm.
What I enjoy doing is cooking, but that's just the avenue that lets me get to people. And then once I get to people, they don't have to know that you're praying over them. They don't
Mm.
have to know that you're speaking life over them. They
Yeah.
just have to receive it. God just needs a bridge.
Yes.
And
A
your
bridge. I
passion,
like
just
that.
a bridge.
God needs
That's
a
all he
bridge.
needs. And you
Yeah.
know what? We don't know where we are on the spectrum, right? They say
Yeah.
one waters, one plants, one waters, but God gives the increase.
Yes, Lori.
I don't know if I'm planting the seed. I don't know if
Yes.
I'm watering the seed. I don't
Yes.
know. But I'm somewhere in that spectrum and God will give the increase. And what we have to do is remember, I don't have to know and I don't have to see exactly where I fit in, but just know that if I'm operating in his purpose, I fit in there. I fit in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
That is so
and
powerful.
And through that, he has done amazing things for me. Now I'm on television more. I get in the process of working some big deals behind the scenes I can't tell y'all about. Just
Okay,
okay.
don't tell us about that just yet. But I
But
do know, look, I do know in the process of all of this, you were able to, and you maybe tell us about that. You were able to convert a kitchen into a love lab. And then not only that, you uprooted and you moved.
yes,
Yeah. And we're going to
yeah,
hear all about that, hopefully. And you have another
yes.
love lab. And so I want to hear about, those places that you're engaged with through media. I'm not talking about just social
Hmm.
media, but I'm talking about television platform that the Lord has opened for you and how God has just blessed your life. We're going to take some steps, different places. Now there you are, you with the Potter's house. I mean,
Yes.
God is just continuing to just grow you and grow your ministry. And
Yeah.
it's just a blessing. But what I want to do now is have you talk a little bit about when you realize that, wait a minute, I could even rename my kitchen. How did that come about? That the kitchen became the love lab.
It was fun. Like this is what I'm telling you. When you really get into that spot and that passion, that thing that God has put in you that gives you the spark, the ideas and things just come. And I don't mean it to sound like you're just going to stand there and they're just going to float down from heaven and land in your things come up in your spirit. However, God talks to you. Some people are seers,
Yes,
some people are hearers, some people are sensors.
yes.
However, He talks to you. I always say He speaks you. He speaks Lori.
Mhm.
So He speaks Lori. He speaks Pastor Leslie. He speaks every one of your languages. So how He needs to speak to you, He will. And I was like, what are we going to call the kitchen? And my little boy was 4 at the time. He's 10 now, the littlest one. And I was like, what should I call it? What should I call it? And I was going, oh, maybe call it a lab or a love lab. And I was just kind of just thinking through, and love lab stuck. And I said, well, what do you do in a lab, right? You practice things and you try things out and you experiment things. But I found that even when I'm experimenting with recipes, even if I don't use them, they still taste pretty good because they're made with love.
Ah.
So we said, why don't we call it the Love Lab? And then my little, he was 4 at the time. I remember he would run around going, welcome to the Love Lab. Welcome to the Love Lab. And it stuck. That was like, this is it. And then once I moved, we moved this summer, we moved to Dallas. And that's been a big relocation. But you know what? I have a new Love Lab. The Love Lab didn't go away. The Love Lab is in here anyway. So
Mm.
wherever I am is the Love Lab. So we have a new Love Lab here in Dallas. And it's been a real blessing. It's been a real blessing.
Wow. So you actually renovated your kitchen and everything to accommodate this thing that God had put in you, this dream. So we really have to grasp the dream. Now, listen, everybody, that doesn't mean you have to go in and renovate your home, but I'm just talking about Lori's story
Yeah.
because I remember one time when you were, it must have been on YouTube or whatever, but you were like, I just want to show you all the Love Lab. And it was like, wow, what was that about?
Again, it was a God thing. Because what happened hilariously, when I started doing this, and I would just my kitchen was a darker hue at the time. It was like cherry wood and darker floors. It was nice. It worked for me. And when I started recording, my mom was over one day and she looked. She said, "Well, if this is the Lord, baby, we're gonna need a better kitchen. Somebody gonna have to remodel this kitchen." And I was like, "Mama, you always gotta add some more to." And my mama's got evangelist roots, so she always looking. And I was like, "Mama, okay, who's gonna pay? I don't know who's gonna pay for it, but it needs to get done." And so, literally 6 months into Chef Lorious, Father's Day, one morning I woke up. I had made some banana pudding. My husband loves banana pudding, so that's his favorite. I always make it for him. And I woke up that morning. I was going to take some to church for some of the fathers at church for Father's Day. And I
Yeah.
was making my whipped cream in the morning, and I stepped, and the floor was wet on the rug. And I went, oh no. And so I went over by the sink, and it was wet there too. And I was like, huh. So I made the whipped cream. I didn't even tell my husband before we went to church that morning because I knew he would go. You know how that goes. So I waited on the way to church. I said, hey, I think we're going to have Father's Day dinner at Mama's house today because the floor was wet. And he's like, what do you mean floor was wet? So we checked it. Anyway, turns out there had been some leak or something from the dishwasher, had messed up the floor, had leaked through to the basement. But because my kitchen was the original kitchen that had come with the house back when it was first built, when we bought it, blah, 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 the whole thing had to be redone. Everything had to come out. Every cabinet and the floors, everything had to
Mm.
come out. So we ended up doing a remodel. And Mama said, I told you this kitchen had to be remodeled. And I didn't know State Farm was going to pay for it. but it
Didn't know
worked
who,
out.
but yeah.
And then when I had the contractor come in, I told him what I did. I was like, well, here's what I'm doing now. And he said, well, let's remodel it as a studio so that you can do what you need to do. And that's literally how my kitchen became even a studio. It was redesigned to be a studio to record in. So it was set up for all of those pieces. And it was just, again, a God thing. He gave me a custom kitchen that I didn't even realize I needed. And then when we were moving, I was like, okay, this is going to be really tough to find a kitchen that works because my kitchen was custom to me. And I know God is in this move, so he's going to have to do something. And literally the house we found and that we bought with the kitchen is perfect.
Really? That's
It's
wonderful.
perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. Now, somebody listening, this is the thing. Lori just shared with us that God speaks to me the way that he speaks to me. He speaks to her the way that he speaks to her. And we have to all find out, Lord, how is it that you speak to me? Because, people say, well, God doesn't speak to me. But that's to speak against the word, because the word says his sheep know his voice. Not only that, we hear his voice, right? And so we just have to find out how it is, Lord, that you're speaking to me, and acknowledge that. Because as we acknowledge that, that was you. Now, I think that you gave us a peek into, hey, the fact that this is the Lord speaking doesn't mean that there's some things that won't happen to cause you to shift, right? Like you weren't expecting to step on a wet floor.
No.
Yeah.
And that was definitely not at all. I mean, and that was very inconvenient. It was like the last week of school. It was around Father's Day. So school was ending.
Yeah.
It was just like the worst time. We were about to go on vacation. Everything that could be wrong with that time was wrong.
Yes.
And to have the whole kitchen torn up. And but the thing about it that made it such a God thing was when we looked at it and had with the contractor instead of a kitchen and bath specialist, he said, well, we could rearrange everything. I mean, we could move your refrigerator to this wall. We could move your oven to this. Things I had never even imagined.
Wow.
And he's like, you have room for this. You have room for that. I didn't know that. But God brings the people we need in contact with us, and he puts us with them at the right time. He was a referral from a friend. We didn't know who to call to have a kitchen redone, but a friend was like, well, hey, this guy did some work on my house. And this guy ended up doing not only our kitchen, over years, he did all the bathrooms in our house. He redid our basement. He was just a blessing to us. That's how God works.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talk, Lori, about God giving provision for the vision. But how about those times when you don't even have the vision? In other words, you hadn't even imagined what your kitchen could be. In other words, you were good. You said, hey, I'm good. I can cook in here, whatever, just what I love to do. Just so many things I'm pulling from what you said, like we said, well, God will make provision. Well, God will make provision even when we haven't grasped the vision, right?
Yeah.
Because even if he hasn't revealed what it is, or we can't grasp what it is just yet, God puts those people, places, and things in place for us. And it's just amazing how it unfolds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I walked away from the time we were together at that conference, and I didn't talk to you about it. I thought about things that you shared during that time, how you shared with us as women, you got to grab hold of faith. Faith was a big theme in what you shared. It's like, okay, I don't really know where this is going, but you were saying some things that I typically say. I know there's more. I want more.
Yeah.
And I told you that. I'm always saying, I want more. What is it, Lord? There's got to be more than this, right?
Bishop Jakes talks about that yearning for more, that discontentment, saying, I know there's more. I know there's more. That's that inkling that God has something greater for you. And if you take the faith step to figure out what it is, the faith step is not always, I'm going to quit my job and go do that. That's not always the faith step. We think in extremes.
Okay.
What do I love to do? What is the passion that God has put in me? What's that thing that lights me up? Yeah. Because there is a thing that lights you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see what that is, because a lot of times that's what he's breathing on. That's the thing he's put in you. The fact that it's a natural light for you is not just because you're that type of person. That's what he's put into you. Sometimes people say to me, well, how do you create a recipe or something? The truth is, I don't always know. Because when I get in the kitchen and I start cooking and doing things, it sounds like I'm being super spiritual, but I'm not. But honestly, it just comes what to do, because that's what he's gifted me. That's my passion. You'll find if you're a speaker, when you're preaching, everything that you thought about doesn't come out as you're preaching. It comes to you, and it just
That's
comes, and
right.
you know how to go with it because that's the passion. That's what he put in you. That's who you are. And
Yeah.
that's how the step of faith is to be like, okay, I love doing this thing, so I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see where you take it, Lord.
Yeah.
I'm going to just see. My husband had no idea that he was speaking to me, and I read one time Bishop Jakes also says, if you ever listen to a recent Bible study, he said God doesn't always show us everything
Mm-hmm.
because if He showed us the full vision, we'd probably mess it
Go
up
the other way. Say that
and
again,
go the other
Lori.
way.
I'm
He
sorry.
said
We do what?
we mess it up, but we go the other way. If I had known that I was going to end up being on Hallmark Home and Family and writing a cookbook and being a regular on Fox 5 and DC TV, I wouldn't have signed up for that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I liked it.
Mm-hmm. But
I
there
didn't,
you
but
are.
it was step by step, piece by
Yeah.
piece, things happen. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, then you realize the passion you didn't know you have. I turns out, girl, I love being on TV. I didn't know.
Yeah. And look, you're natural.
It's
That's
so
how
much
we know
fun.
that's what's in you.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen you there. I've seen you when you were on
yeah.
Fox 5 and all that. I've seen you, and you're just like going with the flow. Hey,
Love it.
we're
Hmm.
family. We're here. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
wow, this is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the Lord follows you with the opportunities because when I first moved, I was like, that was one of the things that was an issue when we were talking about moving and we realized what was putting on our hearts was I've gotten in really good with the TV stations there in DC. I could pretty much go on a station when I wanted to. I knew the producers, they would call me, I could call them. I mean, it wasn't a struggle anymore. But to
Yeah.
move to a new city, you got to start all over.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't have contacts there. How's this going to work? I mean, I know I have the background, but then again, I move here and I don't realize I have a cousin that lives here.
Wow.
And my cousin that lives here is a cool friend we meet. You know, we're the actual cousins. We actually can trace our family history. We're not play cousins, we're real family.
Okay.
And
Play
it turns
cousins.
out, you know how that is with our
Yes.
folks. Everybody,
And
my cousin,
Dallas
no,
is
we're
no
real
small
cousins.
place. Dallas is
No,
no small place.
no.
And you found your cousin there.
Yeah, because his brother, I knew his brother from a previous reunion. He was like, hey, my brother's, and I hadn't met his brother. So I mean, he's a reporter for one of the local news stations. So he puts me in touch with his station manager, and I've already started doing segments here.
Mm,
That's when you're doing what God gives you to do,
yes.
He makes the way. I never would have seen it. I didn't think I had any relatives in Dallas. This was a good location for us because it was closer to my family in California, closer to some family in Colorado. So all of those pieces made sense. We're
Yeah.
at the Potter's house, but I didn't know how the TV piece was going to work, and that is a big piece of what I do.
Yeah.
And here it worked out,
What
just
a
like that.
blessing. Yeah, yeah. Let's peek over here. Thank you for being with us, Gloria. Gloria says, wow, use what's in your hand.
Yes, what's
Use
in
what's
your
in your
hand?
hand. Thank you, Sissy. That's my sister, Charlene Bishop Gar. Thank you for
Ah,
sharing and tagging people. And she's saying, "Hey." Christine Billings is saying, "Hey, Chef Lorious." She's, Christine Billings.
yes, I know Christine, lovely
Yeah.
woman. Love you, Christine. Thank you.
Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, good morning, good morning, all of you. Stephanie, yeah, we're glad to have you. Barbara Smith, Kathy Stout, and Cheryl Lemon. These are people who help to support Pepper Moss, help to support women in ministry on a regular, right?
I see
So
Pepper
yeah,
is right here in Dallas going to the Potter's house with me.
well,
Okay, Pepper, we've got to catch up at church
yeah, yeah,
because
right
I'm
there.
there.
Yeah. So God is good. And somehow He brings those connections and brings us together. Yeah. So let's talk about some of those times because I know there's somebody on here who's like, wow, it unfolded for you so beautifully. And now you moved to Dallas, you got a new church home, all those things. Were there any like real snags along the way or places where you said, wait a minute, God, was that you? Did you really tell
Uh,
me that? Because whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because there was a point in there where people were asking me to write a cookbook, and it was kind of like, but I don't want to write a cookbook. and I didn't get in this to write a cookbook, and I have no interest in writing a cookbook. I just like to get on here and do my thing. But I realized they were asking me for that, and so my husband was like, if your public is asking, I love to always just my joke around here. I'm a public figure,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he's like, well, if your public is asking you, maybe you need to answer them. And it just was, it was a big undertaking to write a book. And so I thought, all right. So I signed up, got a publisher, all that kind of stuff with it. And the first thing that they sent me, because as I got into writing it and I started writing my stories in the cookbook, I realized, okay, wait a minute, this is a way for me to really get myself out there, because I can put the cookbook, as you read the cookbook, you read my story, my life.
Wow.
And I was like, well, the first thing that the publisher sent me back was horrible. It was so bad, I cried.
Mm.
I mean, it was awful. And then I was sitting there like, Lord, I know now I've listened to what they've asked, but I didn't just do it because they asked. I know this is something that you're saying to me, but this is awful. I mean, it was horrible. And so I ended up having to find someone else to design the book, and it felt like it was just going to become impossible. It really did. But then I followed what he told me, found another person to do this, used the one I had for do certain types of editing, and it ended up coming together, and the book is fantastic. I mean, if I say so
Mhm.
myself. But there was a piece, and there was a period of time in there when it was really, really questionable. Like, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing now, but I'm just not sure, because nothing is lining up.
Hmm.
And when it was also when I was trying to get on TV and stuff, I remember when I was trying to get on Fox 5, because Fox 5 in DC they own morning television. And I could not get on there. I could get on other stations, but I just could not get on Fox 5. I could send stuff to the producers. I just could not, I don't know what it was. And one of the producers who was on a station that I was on regularly moved to Fox 5,
Hmm.
and she knew of me because I had done things at their station. And she was so kind. I messaged her and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you on. Don't worry." And I came on, and all of a sudden, it went from one appearance to friend of the show. But it was literally God moved out of the place the person who was in there that I couldn't get contact with. And not that anything was wrong with them. They had a blessing waiting for them. They moved on in their career. It was good for them.
Yes,
But
yes.
he will move and orchestrate things when you know you need to get to the next level, or you know you need to do the next thing. And it gets hard. Sometimes it's tough because my family. I'm still a mom. I got kids in school. So if I used to cook live on Thursday nights. Well, there was one period of time where it came up, and my baby Aiden had a football tournament, or whatever they call them things for kids,
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go live because consistency is key, but I'm his mama too.
That's right.
So what am I going to do? So what do? I tell my followers, hey, y'all, we're not live tonight because my baby's got a football game that I have to be at. Now, they won the championship that night, so thank God they won too. But those are hard things to do, because as it comes
Yeah.
up, what am I going to do? My child needs me to be somewhere, and I want to be there because I'm their mama before I'm Chef Lorious. I'm my
Mm-hmm.
husband's wife before I'm Chef Lorious. But God gave me Chef Lorious. So how do I prioritize Chef Lorious versus his wife? How do I prioritize Chef Lorious versus their mama? And we as women a lot of time have a hard time figuring out how to get all those things in place. But we
Yeah.
have to listen to him each time. Lord, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do? How do I do this? And the best thing you can do is be honest, be authentic, be yourself, and follow your heart. Know how he speaks to you.
Mm-hmm.
Know how he speaks to you, because he'll tell me, go to your baby's game.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
know that's him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to your baby's game.
Mm-hmm. Those priorities.
Yeah,
Those priorities.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, you share ideas, you share recipes, but you also share that love and what the Lord has given to you. Like you're divulging to us now that it's not all about that. You are
Mm-mm.
that Calibama girl.
I
Uh,
am.
you're that Calibama girl, but at the same time, you're God's girl.
I
And,
am.
that has to take priority, which means, family and all of that. And look at what he has done. It's just, so wonderful. And I
Hmm.
think that it's wonderful. We talked earlier about how now he's placed you in a ministry where you have a leader who does not mind pouring into
Yes.
others, and more specifically, women.
Yes.
And so
I
that means
mean,
a lot.
it does. It does. Bishop Jakes pours into women, he pours into entrepreneurs, and it's amazing to see a leader actually not just talking about it, but telling you and giving you real time tips. Really, this is what you need to be doing, but
Mm,
not follow my ABC, do exactly what I did. Follow what God has given you. This is how he gave it to me. How's he giving it to you? And encouraging that for women is really huge.
it is.
You have no idea. We don't understand. We're not used to being affirmed as
Yeah.
women. We're
Yeah.
not used to being encouraged always. We're not used to being pushed and promoted. We're used to fighting with each other and not understanding that there's room for you and for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's hard for us. So when you're actually sit under a leadership that says, no, 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 you can be great. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't be great. And your sister next to you can be great too. That's different. That's a game changer. That changes your mindset.
Yes, yes, yes. And we talked about this, Lori, that we have to pull away from that whole thing where it's like, okay, but if I'm here, you
Mm-hmm.
can't be here. There's not space for both of us because that's the way that we've been conditioned. Okay.
Yes.
If you make it, then there's certainly not room for me to get in there. You got to go find your own.
Right, exactly. And you know how the Lord helped me with that was I would often worry about was cooking. Cooking is very crowded. Okay, I mean it's a crowded area. Everybody likes to cook. Everybody gets on the internet. I mean I'm on there, but uh, one time I remember the Lord told me, He said, "All of you cooking, all of you cooking channels, you could all have 2 million followers
Mm,
and never repeat."
mm. And
And
never.
when he was never have somebody have the same person on another one. You could all have 2 million individual, and we could have more than that. But what he was showing me was there is enough for
Hmm.
everybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel like, oh man, they've all got the things. I don't need to. I don't have a shot. Yes, you do. There's a whole bunch of people who've never heard of them. I can mention someone, a famous person on the internet who cooks a Laura in the kitchen. And I could bet you that there are a bunch of people who've never heard of her. And she's huge. She's
Hmm.
got 2, 3 million subscribers.
Wow.
But people have never heard of her. And I was thinking, like, how is that possible? Everybody knows her. There's another channel, Smoking and Grilling with AB. Amazing channel. But people have never heard of it. Over 3 million subscribers. So if
Mm.
he's got 3 million subscribers and he's huge, but you've never heard of him, that means there's room for all of us.
Yeah, there's room for all of us. And
Mm-hmm.
this is so important. Hey, Paula, I'm so glad you're here. Paula Ryans McGee.
Oh,
Um, this is the thing, Lori, during this time of year, when we're talking about, the greatness of God and what he's done and doors he's opened, I want us to also be cognizant of the fact that this is a time of year that sometimes people hit a low, an
yeah,
all-time low, right?
yeah.
And we're finding that sometimes toward the end of the year, people are checking out, they take their own lives, just
Mm.
so many things that are happening that are horrific. But if we
Mm-hmm.
can just give people the encouragement and the hope to know that, listen, there's a space for you, there's a place for you, there's
Mm-hmm.
something that God has designed for you, right?
Yes.
Don't throw in the towel, don't go the other way, don't quit too soon
Yeah.
because God has something for you. I don't know who may even catch this on the replay, but if there's somebody who will catch this on the replay and say, yeah, yeah, that's good for her. She got all this going on. They just moved, got a new
Mm-hmm.
home in Dallas. But you know what? God has something for you, and there's something in your hand.
Yeah.
Just like he said to Lori, to Chef Lorious, use what's in your
What's
hand.
the name? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
It's
never know where you are. And that's
yeah,
why I talk about knowing the spectrum, because the thing is, you can think, well, I'm not encouraging anybody. But what you don't know is that person who could be at that low could see something you said. And
yeah,
all of a sudden, that could be the thing that brings them out. That
yeah.
could be the thing that gets them one more day. You don't know. You don't know if you're planting. You don't know if you're watering.
Come on. That's right.
But do what's on your heart. Do what God has given you to do.
Yeah.
And know that he understands. When we look at how he orchestrated things the way we moved here, I mean, there was a period of time where he was like, give me, I remember God told my husband at one point, give me 6 months. And we were just like, okay. And then in 6 months, we thought something magical would happen, but it didn't. But then over time, as it's all played out, we look back and realize that 6 months, he said, is when something else happened that we weren't aware of in the background that was setting us up for the next thing.
Okay.
So you don't know always how God is using your story and who he's using to unfold your story and then
Yeah.
who he's encouraging with your story. So when someone is down and that time, they might come on there and just be strolling through or whatever and find a recipe I'm cooking and hear me talking about, oh, ain't that good, girl? And that might be all they need to take them out of it because we don't know when people are down. You're right. This time of year is very hard for
It's
people.
very
We
hard for
see
people.
people taking their lives, so we're just sitting there scratching our heads like, wait a minute. Wait,
Yeah.
let me understand this.
Yeah.
Because it's a spirit and we can't control that. But when you put the light out there that is him, the light in darkness that he gives to you to shine,
Yes.
that's that's what makes the difference.
That's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference. And everybody on here, you have something. You have
Yes,
something that God has given to you. And listen, if you don't take anything else away today, just know that there's room. I see somebody, my
yeah,
sister saying room, that there's
yes.
room. You're not excluded. You're not
Mm-mm,
counted out. And you know
mm-mm.
something I shared with someone today, as I sent a text, well, actually to my son, is that each day is a gift. And we have to
Yes,
begin to see it like that. If you see each day as a gift, you get up and say, oh, what am I opening today? You know what I mean?
yes,
It's like oh,
yes,
another day, right? Like those
yeah,
commercials got to go make the donuts. No, it's not one of those days.
yeah,
Like, Lord, what do you have for me today? And if I don't see anything, like you said, at the 6 month, whoa, what happened? Was there anything major that happened? I didn't see it happening, but I can still say, God, I thank you because I'm in this day.
yeah,
I'm drawing breath today,
yeah,
right? I can
yeah.
see Lori today.
It did.
You know,
Yeah.
those things that we want to just learn how to celebrate, celebrate life,
Mm-hmm,
right? And just
mm-hmm.
appreciate what God has given to us in terms of life. And I think when people lose hope, Lori, it's just a horrible thing because when we think
Yeah.
about people taking their own lives or taking the lives of their families and their precious
Oh,
babies, they've lost hope.
completely,
They've lost
completely.
hope.
Yeah.
And when you've lost hope, you're totally miserable. But
Yeah.
everybody on here and everybody who catches this later, know God has a place and a space for you. And there's something that He has put in your hand.
Yeah. It is. And be aware. Look for it. When I say be aware and look for it, don't go around like, but be aware when you see somebody or when you're doing something or you find, oh, I love writing notes or I love
Yeah,
writing letters. And somebody comes across your mind, write such a letter. Don't be like, that's so stupid. Write it
yeah,
because you have a gift that God is using. It don't come to me to write notes to people because writing is not my thing like that. But
right.
it comes to me to make a cake for somebody. And all of a sudden you find somebody goes, oh my God, nobody's ever made anything for me. So write that note to that sister that you're thinking about. Write that
Yeah,
encouraging letter. When you see that person at church or whatever, just whatever God puts on your heart to do, it'll come natural to you. It's
yes,
okay to know that the thing that you love to do or the thing that comes natural to you is his gifting for you.
it's a
We're
gift.
so conditioned to think that God's going to ask me to do something that I hate. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I think I shared with you. I grew up. I went to Christian schools growing up, and we were always scared that God was going to call you to be a missionary to Africa, because that's what they told us all the time. It's like I don't want to go to Africa. But what I learned over time was that there were actually people who wanted so badly that opportunity, and not because they were gluttons for punishment, but that was their heart's desire, because
Yes,
that's what God put in their hearts.
yes.
Now, that doesn't mean he's never going to ask you to do something you don't want to do. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that. But you don't have to assume that just because you enjoy it, it must not be him.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So I thank you for saying that. I mean, it's true. And just whatever it is that we work with,
Yeah,
where we are, my first lady's mom, she's known for sending cards. Nobody else may have even known about it, but don't you know, I got a card from her in the mail the other day. I mean, nobody might have known about my anniversary, but I got a card in the mail the other day. Happy anniversary to you and your husband. I was like, who thought about that?
right.
She
And
does.
it
She
touched
sends me
you.
birthday cards.
And it touches you in a way that's
Oh,
different because
it's
that's
different.
something that's on her heart. That's who
Yes.
she naturally is. And all
Yes.
she's doing is walking in the passion and the purpose God has for her.
Yes, yes. And she's a very behind the scenes person.
Hmm.
And my mom was one who would remember birthdays. She
Hmm.
would remember everybody's birthday because that
Hmm.
was her heart. It's like, Mom, how do
That
yeah,
was her. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just amazing, that the Lord puts in us what we need, and what you have is what somebody else needs.
Yes.
talking to those who are joining us. What you all
Yes.
have is what somebody else needs. I'm
Yeah,
telling you
that's
the
so
truth.
true.
My mother
Yeah.
was on her deathbed, Lori,
Mm.
and we were at the hospital, and she said, "What day is it?" And I told her, and she says, "Oh," she named my cousin. She says, "Oh, it's so and so's birthday."
Right.
Isn't
That's
that?
just who she was.
Yeah, that's who she was.
That's who she
That's
was.
the gift she had. And sometimes, you know, what I used to do is beat myself up. Why can't I remember people's birthday?
Not your gift.
It's not my gift. It's
But you
not
can preach, but you can preach them under the sink, under the table, girl, because
my
that's your
look.
gift.
All
You
glory
have
to
that. That's
God.
your gift.
I
Yeah.
love people though. See, and she loved people, but we
Hmm.
love people in a different way,
Yes. Yes. That's
right?
the thing. How
Yeah.
he gives you his expression. We are all expressions of him.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that's the truth. We're
Yeah.
come on. We're
You
expressions
know,
of him.
which
Yeah,
is, I had someone one time say to me, I don't see color. And I said, that's unfortunate
that's
because
right.
the colors that we all are
Mm,
all expressions of God.
that's
I
right.
want you to see my color. Now, I
That's
don't want
right.
you to limit your definition of me to my color, but I want you to see it because this is part of God's expression. This is what mocha caramel looks like
That's
when he
right.
expresses. And
That's
that's
right.
how he wants us to be. The way nobody, what Bishop said, can't nobody do what you do like you
Like,
do when you're doing it.
mm,
Because that's what you do. And this is part of my expression. It's
yeah.
caramel. Look
Yeah.
at the caramel. See my caramel and enjoy my expression.
My. Salina Ray, thank you for joining us. Yeah, Kathy, we have to, she says, plus we have to
Yes.
be willing to share what we have.
Yes.
See, so
Yes.
many people have so much inside them.
Hmm.
However, because they may feel inferior or that
Hmm.
it doesn't matter or people won't accept it, they hold that stuff inside. And
Hmm.
people need what you have.
Yeah. There is
People need
somebody who
that.
needs it. Somebody is waiting on your ministry. Somebody
Mm,
is waiting on your expression because your expression of God is not, Jesus walked the earth, right? So he's not walking around like that anymore. He's walking around in us. Somebody needs your expression. You have that expression because there is somebody who can hear it and needs to receive it like you can give it because he gave it to you to express to them. That's how much he loves you and how
yeah,
much he loves them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not that we're inferior. That's the enemy. He always wants us to think, you're inferior. Who are you to do this? You can't do this, blah, 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 blah. And then he wants to tell you, don't say nothing to nobody because he
Mm,
wants to find a way to isolate you. What do you do?
yes.
The gazelle at the back of the pack. Everybody knows the gazelle at the back of the pack is the one that gets eaten first.
Uh-oh.
Don't tell anybody. Isolate yourself. But no,
Mm,
share it. Tell somebody because there is somebody waiting on that expression of God that only you can give them.
that's so beautiful right there. It really is. Because you've robbed so many people when you withhold yourself. When we withhold
Oh,
ourselves,
yes.
we rob people. And you know, this is
Yes.
the other thing, Lori. We rob ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, because this interaction with you, I grow through that. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go from this day today. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
grow from our time together. I'm going to go from this platform and I'm going to be thinking about what my sister Lori shared, just like I
Yeah.
did the last time we were together. And when I come to Dallas, I'm going to be looking for you.
Girl, you better come on find me. I'll cook you something.
Okay, I'm coming.
In the love lab. In the
With
love
love.
lab.
Yes, I am. I'm coming.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I believe for that. I believe for that. Everybody, hasn't this been wonderful being with Chef Lorious today? This is our sister Lori. Come on, right there in that chat. Put those clapping hands. I want you to go to her YouTube channel. You can follow her on YouTube, catch her on Facebook at Chef Lorious. Everything is going across the screen. Yeah. And I want you to make sure that you go out to Amazon. Now
Yes.
you may say, well, I don't cook, but maybe you'd cook a little bit if you had a cookbook and you could just follow along with the cookbook, right? And so she has it there, Calibama cooking. And people can be like, "Ooh, this is good." Like, okay, well, you're gonna have to go check out Chef Lorious. I can't take the credit. Now give Chef Lorious the credit, right? But it is comfort food, that good
Yes.
Southern cooking. You know what, Lori, I'm gonna have to get my book.
Get you a book, girl.
I have to get it.
Everything
And
is
that way when
easy
we
to
see
cook.
each other, I can tell you what I tried.
There you go. Post it. I love that. Post it.
Yeah.
Post your pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, how about it? How about it? All right, so let me see what people are saying. Oh, they're putting up the hands. That's it. That's it.
Oh,
Ah, yes, Pepper Moss. I knew would cry tears of joy for hearing so much encouragement today.
oh,
That's a blessing. Hands
oh.
up, hands up. Yes. And
Mm.
Consolidated Baptist Women's Auxiliary,
Ooh,
my friend Anna Allen Edwards says she's going to be sharing with her women. Yeah,
thank
and so
you.
tell your women, listen, you all are involved with women in ministry. I'm involved with women all over. And I think too, Anna, and you're talking to those women at Consolidated Baptist, encourage them to go get the cookbook. Say, listen, um, try something different. Get that cookbook and try something you haven't done before.
Yes.
Lori is a friend. You'll be able to get that book and say, look, this is my friend's cookbook. She's your friend. Lori is just like that.
Yes.
Lori is just like that. Cheryl is saying, this has been great. My kitchen. Oh, yeah. Cheryl is another cook. She says, my
Ah,
kitchen is my happy place. Yeah. Cheryl Lemon is another cook. I think Cheryl is primarily what, Cheryl? Desserts, cakes, that type of thing.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
praise the
And so
Lord.
you see what Christine Billings is saying, Lori. She's saying, we miss
Yeah.
Chef Lorious Rogers back here in Virginia.
Yeah, I miss
Yeah.
y'all too.
So when you come this way, we're going to have to take you out. But listen, I'm looking forward to coming there to Dallas again,
Yes.
hooking up with you. I have a sister who's right outside San Antonio. She wants to get over to the Potter's house. I'm going to bring her that way, Lord
Come
willing.
on, let me know.
Okay. And yeah, so we're just going to enjoy some time together. Every one of you, thank you so much for joining us today. Lori, do you have any parting words for those who join us today?
You know what? I'm gonna make it real simple. Girl, go be great.
Mm.
Just go
Did
be
y'all,
great. Do you and be great.
did y'all hear it? Go be great. Because listen, whatever God has called you to, it is just that. It's
Yeah.
great. It's great.
Yeah.
Lori, love you much, girl. Don't go
Okay.
away. Stay there. I want to talk to you for a second, then I'm going to let you
Okay.
go. Everybody, we appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for being with us. All right. We appreciate you so much for here on When Passion Meets Purpose. We're going to pull it off the page. That's what we're about.